I'm talking today to Nadeem Juma, who is the CEO of Mobipay, which is an M-wallet provider, and is also chair of the new media agency, AIM. Nadeem, we met maybe 2-3 years ago when you were E4Luzi. What's happened since then?
Well, we've been in the mobile money space since then. E4Luzi still exists as an R&D company, but we've joined up with a financial institution called Sab Financial to create Mobipay. And Mobipay is responsible for selling E4Luzi's products globally. And it seems to be an interesting space. E4Luzi is doing some great innovations and new things with mobile money, some in international remittance, and Mobipay is out there selling the wares, and trying to get the operators on and doing a lot of education in terms of where the space is going. And since we've last met, we've seen a lot of operators pick up mobile money services and start to experiment.
And currently you've got Z-Pesa with Zantel.
Yes.
And how many subscribers have you got, and what's happening in terms of the growth of subscribers?
Okay. Zantel, first of all, Zantel service, which is a technology provider, they have just under 100,000 subscribers on their mobile money service. What we're seeing is there is growth since they started to increase their agent network, which is key, and added a key feature, which is the airtime purchase. They seem to be getting 55,000 airtime purchases a day.
And that's through having a freelance agent network?
Yes.
And how does that work?
So basically, they've engaged traditional scratch card providers, people who sell the scratch cards on the streets, given them a phone, and let them do e-top-up, either of mobile money or of airtime. And it seems to be hugely successful. They're giving them more revenue because they don't have to produce the scratch cards. They have the network because they're on the streets selling the airtime at a micro level. And since May, 25% of all airtime on Zantel is now sold through this system.
And what other products have you got going out with other operators?
We've developed the mobile front end for Swift workers remittance for a company called AEG based in Lebanon, and they're the Swift partners for Middle East and North Africa. We're currently developing a product called Inalipa, which is an online payment service, an e-wallet that will be integrated to all the M-wallets and banks. And this hopefully will be network independent. We're also working with Visa, MasterCard, and US bank accounts to do remittances into Tanzania. So we're working on a few kind of peripheral products, I would say, to add value to the mobile money offering.
Okay, let's turn to the AIM social media agency.
Yes.
How did that come to be set up?
Okay. AIM Group is just over a year old, and I'm the chairman of AIM Group. And our goal was to move away from traditional advertising in Tanzania. If you've been to Tanzania, you'll notice that we have a lot of billboards, and that seems to be the way that everybody wants to get out there. And we felt that social media is growing in Tanzania. We currently have 300,000 Facebook users. So we wanted to engage and see what we could do on that channel.
Do you know how many Twitter users there are?
Much less.
Yeah.
I would say probably under 100,000.
Okay.
Facebook is still dominant, and we're working with Tigo Tanzania. We're their social media agency, and it's been an unbelievable 3 months.
So tell me, you were telling me earlier that they set the initial objectives. What were the initial objectives?
They gave us a goal of getting them 2,000 fans on Facebook in the first 3 months. And they wanted about 1,000 followers on Twitter. We were not as successful on Twitter. We only got 500 followers, and we found that that's a very sophisticated channel. The kind of people you have on Twitter, you need to be able to engage them in a certain way. Facebook was completely different. We got 16,000 followers.
Against a target of 2,000.
2,000 in the first 3 months. And I think the operators realized, one, that social media can be a great tool for customer care, which is an issue. It's a great tool for analytics and insights, something that they have a very difficult time with. and we're now going to try using it as a promotional channel, where we're going to push some products and services out only on that channel and see how people engage. I would say one of the biggest experiences, at least for me on a personal level, has been we had an incident about 2 months ago where a ferry sank on the way to Zanzibar. And we converted our Facebook and Twitter into a news source where we're pushing out information because traditional media was just continuing with their normal broadcasting, and we saw huge amounts of growth.
Why was traditional media ignoring this incident? Because presumably it's quite serious when a ferry goes down.
Well, it shows how independent and open traditional media is. I think that there is still a fear of what the government will do. I think there's still a concern of how you get that information out there. And most importantly, it's creating the content very quickly. What we found is a lot of the information and content as social media works was coming from the people, and that's how we could push it out very, very quickly. An example I'll give you is 3 of the newspapers the day after had a picture on the front page of the ferry that sank. And we published on Twitter that that was the wrong ferry. That was actually a ferry that sunk in the Philippines, and they just grabbed this picture online. And it shows that they don't have access to the information as quickly as you would from independent citizen journalism.
So you think that there's a future for user-generated content in the context of Tanzania?
I think there's a huge opportunity there. One of the big blogs we have in Tanzania, or forums we have, is called Juma forums. And they are the largest forum. At any point you can have 20 to 30,000 people engaging online, political information, just what's happening in Tanzania, all user-generated. Obviously frowned upon by the government, some of the big corporates, but it shows that Tanzanians are craving information. They're willing to now be open and put information out there. And I think online, social media, forums like this are going to help transform Tanzania and take it through what we'll see as probably our own version of a revolution.
So when will the tipping point come? Because it's very noticeable that Kenya has nearly 1 million Facebook users, and though 300,000 is a large number, it's still relatively trivial alongside the overall population.
I think we all know that majority of data access will come from the mobile. We need to get the phones out there, which operators are starting to do. I think the main thing is going to be affordability and great access. If you look at Tanzania, for example, a lot of good access to 3G networks are only in urban areas. And you need to see operators investing into infrastructure, and instead of kind of being the content creators, just provide the access in the pipe and let the content flow through. And we're pushing them, and I think the demand is clearly there. Eventually they will have to make the decision to provide this access. I would say the next 12 months is going to be very, very interesting. If you just look at the growth of Facebook in Tanzania alone in the last year, 200,000 to 300,000, we're growing. So the next 12 months is going to be very, very interesting, I think, in Tanzania, especially as more data is pushed out.
Nadeem, thanks for talking to me today.
Thank you, Russ.